welcome to episode 33 of UK League Chat. Just us for this one, so unlucky if you came excited for a guest. Just stuck with us for the next hour, hour and a half. So on the
We
agenda,
tried. We tried a little bit too late. I don't want to. I'm not going to flame anybody because it was completely our fault. Like it really was. We were very much like, oh, we think we might have some people,
yeah,
but we never really confirmed it until it came to about 2 hours before, and we were like, okay, maybe we should actually ask for someone.
true.
Um, but yeah, that
Never mind.
means though, if it goes off the um the pattern which it normally goes off, this will be probably the longest podcast.
It'll be
So because
three,
that's what
four
seems
hours
to
long.
happen.
Yeah, yeah. Like what was it last time? I'd honestly last one we did just us. I thought it was gonna be about 45 minutes, and it was like an hour
It's
and
an
50.
hour and 45 minutes. Yeah.
Outrageous. We'll see. There's there's enough to cover today. We could it could end up being another long one. We'll see how it
I
goes.
mean, when is the NLC playoffs? What time is that?
That is I think 1 p.m. tomorrow. So
I think we
we've
can
got a
do
fair
that.
bit of time.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll overlap. I think we're all right. Um, so on the agenda today, then we've had the relegation, like promotion, not really tournament, but it was obviously after Tlia Masters we had the two teams from there against Singularity and M&M. So we'll talk through what's happened there and who's still up, who may have come up and whatnot. And then just look ahead at playoffs this week. So a couple of days left of the NLC playoffs, and it kind of starts with the I think it starts with the lower bracket game, and then we've got the upper bracket game. We'll go through it and we'll kind of talk on
Yeah, I
our,
think
our thoughts.
lower and upper bracket play on the same day, and
Yeah,
then the third, the
like
yeah,
second,
yeah,
third match kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll go through it. So let's start earlier on with the promotions. So um, obviously with the promotions, it was the fact that Singularity and M&M were the bottom of each group, and they basically had these one series to survive essentially. Um, Firstly was M&M, and I think theirs was the one that on paper was probably more one-sided against Granit Gaming. I think from Talia Masters, KOVA Esports were the team that everyone was looking at. They were the team that went on to face
Mhm.
Singularity, which we'll talk about next. And I think Granite being the second place, I don't think they were really expected to have much of a chance against M&M. But even then, it was really one-sided for M&M, and you kind of like, a bit of a shame M&M or this M&M wasn't there for the whole of the split. Really, it's to be fair,
I
it's not.
think that's what you're getting onto is I think if it was any other iteration of Eminem, it might have been a competitive game.
Yeah,
But we said this from the beginning that this side is not a relegation side. The side which they had ended up building was not a side for relegation. And I think I even said it like when when they were just making roster changes, or might even before that what they would do is they would bring in pieces gradually just for relegation at that point, and that's what they've done. And it's a side which is really really good. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was Eminem, oh, they won 3-0 by the way,
yeah,
like they won 3-0, and it was a shit because it was a bit of a domination. But I think if they run that same side in the NLC, I think they've got a good chance of going somewhere. It's if they can keep all
yeah.
those players.
Because to be fair, like once, especially like it was like Energy and Eli Wood, since they'd come in, they did
Mhm.
look much better and they picked up a couple more wins. And so I think after seeing how they performed with that roster, I don't think it was a huge surprise to not see them really struggle in the relegations. Even Monk like looked like his normal self. Like
Yeah, we saw glimpses of what really we should have had from Monk right from the beginning.
yeah,
And it's a shame, obviously, what happened with Barcode, and obviously one person then had to go out of the bottom lane. But this was the Monk I think a lot of people expected to see as soon as he got told that he was going back into the
hmm
bottom lane. And yes, he then had a bit of a problem with having Shadow, who's not even a support, he was an analyst essentially. He was an analyst. There's no essentially about it. Um, but obviously, when we got the Eli one, we still hadn't got, I think, the best of Monk. And this was as close as what we've had in terms of a consistent performance from him.
hmm
And I really enjoyed watching him, unfortunately, dismantle a team, which is what he did. But it did show the strength of what Eminem was.
Yeah.
I do have to say a little thing though before we talk about it a little bit more. I really like the concept of Telia Masters, but I'm gonna say this now. I feel like it does need to change a little bit next season. Now, I think that because everything was kind of coming together, I think I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because they create this whole system, basically for one half of the split, and I think a lot of it, even with the NLC, was a little bit of testing to see what happens. Because I do think there were faults with both, but I do think that there were basic stuff with Telia Masters which I didn't enjoy. For me, if you're gonna for me, you've promoted the Telia Masters as quite an important thing. For them to not have like one broadcast stream, it was quite frustrating. And then on the other hand, to have the games being played like during LEC, which
Yeah.
was let's be honest, yeah, maybe you didn't look at it like that, but for me, you should never really put it against the LEC when it's the last day of the split. Like, and I can understand maybe why they have to do it, but it just felt a bit. It just didn't feel that good.
Yeah.
I'm being honest, and there were a lot of games which I had to either miss because I just couldn't find streams of them in the end, or basically had to rewatch because I was like, oh, I'm watching the LEC. No offense, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that did suck a little bit. I did think though in the actual finals and the playoffs were good. I thought actually the broadcast was really good as well, and I like it was nice to see a studio, which was nice for a change because we don't really get to see that often
Mhm.
anymore. So that was quite nice. But I just hope they kind of work on those little errors because it I came out of this feeling that Tilia Masters wasn't as big as what I was kind of told it was going to be.
Mhm.
And I think they understand that as well.
Yeah. I get what you mean. Like, I was especially surprised about the streaming, the stream. Yeah, like when I first kind of noticed that they weren't necessarily all streamed, and I was just like, wait, hang on, like, why? It's just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just like kind of in esports, we're kind of spoiled by the fact that we can
Hmm.
watch every game. Like, you think like, I don't know, football or something, it's not that mad, but then yeah, when
Yeah.
it's like a League of Legends tournament with, it's just strange not to be able to just watch the game. Because it's also not like it's that easy to see to actually watch it back either. If it's not streamed, then chances are you're not going to see it anywhere, which is the bigger shame, I think. One thing just about the format, I was not really upset, but just I would be nice to see is seeing the sixth place teams play each other, because that's yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just from the whole split, especially when maybe it's to do with like the kind of narrative of how these teams were for most of the split. You know, considerably the worst team in each group. It's one of those things you want to know how good they are, like who is actually better than who out of those two teams.
Hmm.
And I think it's like when LCK still had the relegation, I think they did it in a way like that. Like the bottom two teams would play each other,
Hmm.
and one of them would be guaranteed to stay up. I suppose it could be.
They did it in I think it was UKLC as well. They did it at one point
Mm,
where I believe that it was basically they would just drop down. They would have four teams and there'd be a little bit of a lower bracket to
yeah.
work your way up. And I agree. It would have been nice to have maybe seen kind of, you know, possibly. I mean, it wouldn't have been at this case, but possibly maybe Eminem versus Singularity, or because we never throughout this entire split we never got to see that, and I kind of I did feel a little bit harsh for the relegation sides who have literally like you've got to think. Obviously, you can look at it two ways, and that the benefit is that they've just played games, but I look at it in the sense that this does favor the NLC sides quite a lot because they're watching this team grow, develop. They know the
Yeah.
strategies. They're seeing them at Telemasters or seeing them as best as they could do. But it's especially in the finals that it would have been nice for maybe to have had a losers bracket because kind of on the outset you look at it and you kind of think, oh, well, of course those results are going to be like that because you know Granit and KOVA haven't seen these two NLC sides compete in a while. Their strategies could have changed, and well, obviously, if we go back to the M&M game, like they improved. They had the time and they improved because of that. So I would have liked a bit of a losers bracket just to kind of give them a chance a little
Yeah.
bit more. I think.
I suppose with that, yeah, it could be something that maybe they look at and see how they want to do it if they want to change it all. Because I could also see a scenario where, since it's like the first NLC split, they would be more inclined to let the possibility of two teams get relegated if they think that they might. Because it's hard to know for sure that they've chosen the right teams. It may be that it takes a few splits for the ones that aren't as
Yeah.
committed to kind of filter their way out and let better teams in. Maybe after that they then sort of cut it, because obviously the difference would be if we did it the way we've mentioned, it means only one team could get relegated, and that transition would obviously be slower. So I can kind of understand from that sense as
And
well.
I think as well, like to give it a positive, I think the whole concept is really good. I think the concept of the NLC is really good. I actually really liked the NLC. Again, there's little things, and it's kind of a bit like, yeah, I do want to see them fight each other, but I guess there is kind of that mystery of when it comes to playoffs, like a lot of them could potentially go against each other anyway. So I can understand that. Um, and again, with the telemasters, I think it's a great idea. I think it needs executing a little bit better. And I think and hopefully this is a long-term thing. This is not going to be a 2-year thing. This is going to keep going, that it will just develop, especially particularly with that telemasters. Also, we have to take into account COVID probably hasn't helped as well. Like, the whole situation which has happened in the world definitely wouldn't have helped with scheduling. So, there were probably things which they would have wanted to have done, maybe scheduling wise, which they might have not done. So that could have also been a case. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at what's happening with the LFL now. It's quite a shame seeing. I think it's LFL's like best. There's one game they're not even doing a double round robin. I think in their games.
Blimey. Yeah, and kind of wonder what the broadcast will look like as well, because obviously last split was in the DreamHack studio, which the part of the studio that they had for Hiprain and Orcs at the time wasn't huge, but then yeah, I don't know. Just be interesting to see if they go back to that, or if they kind of keep the current thing. Because you imagine with the amount of where they basically changed it to now to obviously have more people on there, you wonder if they'll still be up for that if they've got to then ship them out to Sweden for a couple of months. So that'll be interesting to see as well. Just back on the games as well though, with just back on Monk's performance. It's a shame when you see him like playing like that. It is a shame that the mid thing even happened at all, because he's still clearly a great ADC, and you kind of even wonder if like the last couple of months or the last month or so of him going back to ADC maybe even like kind of like saved his career, like because you think how well it was Pad when he was on wasn't exactly
the
shy.
nicest.
Yeah,
he was honest. He was
yeah,
honest.
he was really honest about his views about the kind of out of game stuff, or not out of game, but like the mental side to Monk's character as well. And with someone like that, you do only do well and get on decent teams if it's worth it with your actual performance. And I think if that whole split had gone without him turning it around like this, then you've got a split where he's just come off getting kicked off LDLC as well. That obviously raised question marks to begin with. And then if his whole split had gone like it started, then I think his options would be way more limited next split. But I think lucky. Well, not so lucky, but like good for him that he's turned around the play at least. You never know. Maybe the kind of behind the scenes side has improved as well.
And obviously, we don't. I've never spoken to Monk, me personally anyway. Not that I have an issue or anything. I just haven't. But I do have to praise that kind of like it does take some mental fortitude, I think, to have and he will admit it, like everybody will admit it, such a bad time at M&M right at the beginning. And then again, like for me, like if I'm a pro player, and as much as I appreciate Shadow being as a support, that would tilt me as an ADC, because you then know that you're not actually then getting a proper bot lane, which you're comfortable with to that level. So I think you do actually have to be strong mentally to have put through that. And he could have quite easily, when Eli Wood came in, have just had these, negative, mental attitude and stuff. He could, but he didn't. At least from what we're seeing, he worked hard. It looks like, and he's tried to get back to the level which a lot of people remember him from when he was at LDLC, and especially when he was at M&M the last time. And I think you have got to praise him for that. And it could have been one of those games where maybe if Monk wasn't playing as well, it might have not been a 3-0. I do have to admit, I think everybody else though in that squad played really, really well. I hate to kind of not be speaking too much about Granit. The issue is that because of obviously what happened with Telly and Masters, I got to see them in the finals and a couple of their games just in the background. If I had not seen them in the finals and just seen them in this relegation, it would not have made me as optimistic about the next game, if I'm being completely honest. But I think that obviously they're a good side to have got that far. I could see a couple of these players potentially going into, either an academy squad in the NLC, for the NLC sides, or potentially going into the NLC, maybe as one or two going in and stuff like that. So it's fair play for them to get it in. It wasn't the best day for them though. It really, but arguably, again, like I said, I feel like M&M could have been I think they could have been a playoff side if that was the team which was playing. So
yeah.
it was kind of unlucky as well.
Yeah. And yeah, to be fair with Granite, I think it's a good decision to make sure it's best of 5 as well. Then you've kind of got no doubt that the better team is staying in.
Yeah.
So you can't have, I think, too many complaints at the end of the day. Yeah. Then going on to the next game, this one was a lot closer and was expected to be a lot closer, I think, between Singularity and KOVA. So KOVA were the team, I think, even before Talia Masters, that you kind of heard more noise about really as probably the most likely to actually challenge for a place. And I'm pretty sure even the analyst desk before this series, wasn't it? Oh, I don't remember who it was. I think there was only one or two that even said Singularity.
I think only one said Singularity would win. Yeah.
So they were underdogs. And it started really well, obviously for Singularity. They went 2-0 up, and they actually looked really good as well. You kind of got the feeling it was another thing like with M&M, the team has come together. Singularity as well did look a bit better towards the end of the split. They didn't make, I think, as drastic an improvement, but at the same time, I think they started at a bit of a higher level than M&M did as well. And yeah, it kind of looked like a similar case. They got it together even more. They've had a week and a half or so off, 2 weeks off, and yeah, they were just going to stomp it. And then obviously that's not what happened, and KOVA won the next 2 games. And then you kind of see, okay, this is what people were expecting from them. This is where you're seeing how good this team actually is. And I think at that point, everyone would have thought the KOVA were going to win. To be 2-0 up and go back to 2-2, the majority of teams don't win that 5th game when that happens.
100%.
Because your mental is
mentally done. You're gone. Yeah.
I
have to say, if I am an Ents player, I would be a little bit worried because KOVA was baby Ents. Right, all finish. So I can imagine Ents looking at that squad thinking, "Oh, well, they're Finnish as well. What's gonna happen here?" Could have done. You never know. You know what? Baby Ents is maybe a bit unfair on them because I actually thought KOVA were really, really good. I think that as much as I'm going to praise Singularity for kind of their mental fortitude, I think being 2-0 down as well and coming back up, especially when I would say that they would have come into this thinking that they were the underdogs, if I'm being honest, because despite the casters going in, I think KOVA would understand that this is an NLC side who have had time to prepare. And, I think that is why they were okay with, not okay, but, they didn't negatively get affected by a 2-0 at the beginning. Because then it felt like unfortunately, after that second game, that then KOVA kind of came into it themselves a little bit more and kind of had worked Singularity out to make it go to 2-2. But, so it was a really, really good game, like a good series as well. Where we had kind of M&M dominate, this was, I wouldn't say back and forth because I did feel like most of the games were kind of it was either Singularities or it was either KOVAs, but that's what made that 5th game so exciting because within 5 minutes you're like, right, okay, well, which team's going to get the advantage? And yeah, I do have to praise Singularity for doing well. And you know what, we flamed him a little bit. I think Scoot played very well at parts as well in this series, and I think he was really good. I do think Takeset as well looked a lot better. I think both ADCs in M&M and Singularity actually really showed up a little bit. And again, a little bit with Takes It. Like I got told with Takes It, this guy's a young player who's got so much potential, got such a high ceiling, mechanically really good. I think he's challenger. I think Takes It's challenger. He might be challenger or grandmaster. But he's a high elo player. He's just quite young, and this for me kind of showed that a little bit. Like it wasn't a perfect game, especially in the losses. It wasn't a perfect game, but I think for a young player to have that mental fortitude and then to also put up performances like he did in some games.
Yeah,
Fair
especially the
play to
last
him.
game as well. Like, cause
Yeah.
I think he's meant to be like a Draven main, isn't he? So they've kind of
Hmm.
just last game they have to win to stay in. They've just given him his comfort pick. When the team does that, obviously there's mostly
It's
you
pressure. It's
do
a
it.
lot of
Yeah,
pressure.
mostly
Yeah.
you kind of do it for the comfort, but then at the same time, everyone's going to be expecting you now to be the one to carry it. And yeah, given the fact that he's probably the youngest player on that team, um, props to him as well. 11-3 on Draven in that match, like just
Hmm.
yeah, totally put it on his back and kept him in the league. So
And it's not like when Bravado locks in Tarek. So because when Bravado locks in Tarek, because he's done it before, like I
yeah,
think that's the biggest thing. But like from what I can remember, I don't remember taking Drake. He might have done it once in the
yeah,
NLC,
I think maybe once, but
but like it's not a thing where I'm like, oh, this guy's been playing this. Oh, why didn't KOVA ban this? Kind of
yeah,
thing. It was like oh, this is comfort, and let's see what he can do on this comfort.
hmm
It reminds me a little bit, obviously not to the extent, but when I first saw Viper for FlyQuest and he locked in Rhythm because
yeah,
everybody was like, right, well he's good at Rhythm, let's see what he can do with it. And obviously that proved out to be probably his only champion. No, I'm not flaming it. Like a really really
yeah,
good champion for him, which he's comfortable in.
hmm
And so that it was nice to see kind of a little bit something different from Singularity, who I do actually think have been a side which have very much stuck by the rule book in a few games. Well, most of their games, I think they've kind of tried to sort out the team together and kind of work around the team and be a little bit more of a team orientated side. So for them to kind of switch it up a little bit at the end, kind of having this carry, pick a carry, focus on that, do that, especially like you said with the Draven. I think it was nice to see something different from Singularity, which ultimately won them the game, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so then with that, there's no relegation basically, and the league is it'll be the same teams obviously as it was, unless
I think
there's a
NLC are
sell-off or
very
something.
happy with this because for me, so if KOVA had beat Singularity, which could have happened, um, that's then because they were in the Finnish Telia Masters, weren't the Telia
hmm
league. So and I'm really interested eventually when someone gets relegated, what happens then to Team Singularity? Does like a spot then open up in like the Finnish amateur league for a Finnish team to go up, and does Team Singularity I guess go to what would be Norway, I believe, I think it would be, or Denmark, one of those leagues, or would Team Singularity just go into the Finnish league? And this is where I'm really interested to see kind of what happens
mm.
with teams there, but we'll see. I think I don't think it's a long shot to say that there eventually will be like a really good side which will get promoted to the
Mm.
NLC. But and I didn't expect it to be this close, especially with KOVA. So
Yeah, and it's hard as well because obviously NLC teams have got much more flexible, like a player base. Really, they can obviously just take
mhm.
anyone from any of those countries, whereas obviously the the Telia leagues and the UKLC have got to be just predominantly from their own region. So yeah, it's
I
harder.
am gonna I'm gonna slate the groups for Telia Masters as well. But there's the reason why I haven't slated this all in the little tidbit which people could actually snap is because I don't think this was necessarily Telia's fault. I think that there was. I'm going to take this as the benefit of the doubt. I think there was meant to be more matches, and I think they were meant to play each other twice, but there was a little bit of a scheduling issue because obviously all the leagues, because they only played each other once, and there were two massive groups, and I felt a bit
Yeah.
like that's a bit unfair because you lose like two matches and you're probably then just out.
hmm
So you've worked an entire season, finished top two in your division and then lost two and out. And I'm like, oh. But again, I think again that a lot of that was to do with working things out. I don't think Talia expected the UKLC to finish so late. Um, because it finished incredibly late, too
Yeah.
late. Because even we were talking about it, saying like, well, in 2 days they've got to face the Tele Masters, and I do feel again like COVID has affected the NLC because, and especially the LFL, like like we were complaining about, oh, we don't know who the top 2 sides of the NLC is to go into the play-ins and stuff, but the LFL's I think going to be even shorter. Like they're rapid firing those matches to try and get these teams qualified, and that's why the format's a lot shorter. So I think we're going to get a better representation of both these divisions next split, and I really cannot wait for what the regular season looks like in all of the divisions as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope to see KOVA I hope to see KOVA like really, really keep a lot of those players and work hard. And fair play to Granit for getting that. I think maybe if they were against Team Singularity, it would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
You never know at that point.
And especially with what you mentioned about like even the point about like being the baby Ents, like out of the countries that are in the NLC like area, you'd imagine it'd be like a full Danish team that would be the most likely to challenge. That's where all the vast majority of it comes from. So yeah, for it to be even a full Finnish team, like you said as well, is
But there was no
impressive,
Danes. There was no Danes in the top 2 sides in Tele Masters.
Crazy.
So because Granit was, I know they were Swedish, so then they have like a Spanish port, and then I think it's French who's the top lane. I think so. But they're basically a Swedish organization. Yeah, and I think a lot of people came into this thinking Norway or Denmark would have been the 2. I know a couple people had Envision. I didn't. I'm gonna say I didn't want to do like a prediction for Telemasters. I've done it with the UKLC. I've done it with the NLC. I didn't feel confident with Telemasters because I didn't know a lot of these players.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of these sides, and maybe in the future I'll look up other leagues. But when it's not English speaking, it's a little bit more difficult for me to kind of pay attention to it a little bit. Like I wouldn't watch the LPL if it wasn't for English commentary.
Yeah.
So
that's fair enough. Let's move on then and start looking towards this weekend's game. So we've still got the playoffs to finish. Firstly, starting, so we've got on Saturday we've got 2 series, and then on Sunday we've got 2 series, and that's it. So on Saturday, the first game we have is the next game in the lower bracket of Riddle against Tricked. Then the winner of this will go to like a semi-final, if you like, to play the loser of BT, XL, and Fnatic Rising. And then the winner of that match goes to the final against the winner of XL and Fnatic. So it's easier if you see the graph. So
okay. So for example, yeah. So the advantage of being in the upper tier is that you get to only play 1 game in the final day. Where with you now being in the lower tier of winning the upper tier, is that you are straight into the final. Where if you lose the upper tier and win the lower tier, then you have to actually play each other again to get to the final spot. Because if Fnatic win or BT win, then they will basically be able to just scout their opponents because they will know that they will be playing, and then they know that the game before them on the same day is who they are playing against.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, that a team could literally play 8 games on Sunday. That is just crazy. So like, if we just said like, let's imagine, I don't know, let's say Fnatic wins and they go straight to the final.
A team could play 9 games. So a team could play 10 games because they're both best of 5.
No, I think best of 3. The first
yes, they are. Okay, imagine.
So let's hypothetically, let's say like Fnatic beat XL. Fnatic are in the final. That's it. They play that best of 5 on Sunday. But XL Sunday, starting at like 1 p.m. on Sunday, would have to do a best of 3 against the winner of Tricked and Riddle. If they then won that, or Tricked and Riddle win that, then they've got to go straight after and play the best of 5 against Fnatic or against whoever it is.
To be honest, I really don't like it. I think an easy fix is to just have 3 games tomorrow. I know that sounds really bad, but in my opinion, like, at least then it gives the person who's in the final a chance to prepare. I can imagine it being difficult to, especially if you're not the winner of the upper bracket. I can imagine it being very difficult to not only prepare for the matchup which you've got to have, but then to also you have to prepare for if you get to the final.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if that's a total of 8 games, yeah, you've got to prepare for 8 games, and you've then also got to get to the point of saying, well, do I want to put all my best strategies in this best of 3? Because then the winner of the when I face the person in the best of 5, they might just know everything at that point, because that they're going to be watching you in that. So
Yeah.
it's you could also argue a momentum thing, but I don't think it works out very well. For me, if you're BT or you're Fnatic, you want to win that upper
Definitely.
bracket. It is crucial to win that
It
because
kind of
I can't see it going
it
well.
reminds me of like, did you used to watch WWE? Of like,
Yes,
like Money
yeah,
in the Bank when they would use it when
yes,
someone's
yeah.
just finished a match and they're like dying and then they just cash it in and go and beat him. That's what it like reminds me of. It is weird. I don't
It
know.
heavily favors the person who wins the upper
Yeah,
bracket
but then at the
to
same
a
time,
point where I don't think it's fair.
even then, you say about like the preparation, but then they'll be doing the preparation, or they'll be trying to do preparation for a match that they don't know who it's against until like 10 minutes
Yeah, but I
before.
feel like it's easier to prepare for 2 teams in the sense of like it's just 2 different best of 5 strategies. You're not giving anything away by legit playing a game 3 hours beforehand
Hmm.
or an hour beforehand. It just doesn't feel fair. For me, it just I could be wrong. It just feels like whoever wins BTXL Fnatic Rising wins the entire NLC because if you don't, I'm being honest, then I worry for our chances at EU Masters because if our team if BT say beat Fnatic and then don't win the finals, that then makes me worry about actually how they're going to prepare for EU Masters because you should have prepared. You should have the advantage in that game
Hmm.
because you're not having to give away, what could be 3 different strategies in a draft. I think it's quite crucial.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it would have been better if they'd just done Riddle Tricked. I know it's 3 games and it's 3 best of 3s, but if you've got to do it, you've got to do it. It would have been Riddle Tricked, BT Fnatic, then the winner and the loser of the upper and lower brackets face each other, and then the finalist tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's a
don't think
little
that would
bit
have been
better.
even that crazy. Like if you think if they did the three best of threes tomorrow, then that's a maximum of 9 games they could have on that day.
Hmm.
Currently on Sunday, the maximum they could have is 8 games. So
Yeah.
it's not like that much more than they're willing to do in one day. Um, and for the players, they got a maximum of 6 games versus a maximum of 8 games on the Sunday. So
Hmm.
I'm sure from a player's point of view, I would imagine that it's a bit better as well. And I don't know, even for the league, you'd think this, if there was at least a day, like I'm sure they'd prefer
Hmm.
even more before the final of knowing who it is. That it's much easier, surely, to like drum up interest and talk about I don't know, like yeah, just like push content on it. You imagine like if it's XL Fnatic, then that's the storyline. Obviously, the academies against each other again.
Hmm.
Can XL finally beat them? But if you only find out it's XL Fnatic 10 minutes before it actually happens, what
Hmm.
chance have you got to actually to push that and try and get interest?
I
It's
guess there's the little
weird.
bit of the drama of kind of like it's the underdog story, isn't it? Because let's be honest, if you lose that that upper bracket, or in potentially anybody in the lower bracket right now, it's an underdog to get to a U Masters at this point. Um, just because of how grueling it is, it's so grueling to do what they and I know obviously another fix would be to add an extra day, but I'm taking into account they can't add an extra day. Play literally EU Masters play-ins is, I believe, the Tuesday. I think it's the 18th.
Yeah,
It might even be the
I think
Monday.
I think it's 17th.
So it's literally the day after is the play-in. So they
Double
couldn't
check.
add impossible to add another day at that point. Let's be honest. So
Yeah.
um, I do think, if I'm being honest, and I hope viewership is really good. I really hope viewership is good because there is no LEC right now. They've took a week off, so for me, this could be the perfect time for the NLC to get some viewership. And I'm gonna say it now. I think BT versus Fnatic in round 4 will or could potentially break like the records for what the NLC, which I think was like I can't remember. I think it was like 3,000,
Yeah,
4,000, or something like that.
I
And
think like three and a
I think
half.
it could do that. Yeah, I think it definitely could do that because these are two LEC Academy orgs on 4 p.m. on a Saturday, which is when you would normally have LEC.
Hmm.
So for me, if they don't mark it that correctly, I think there's an issue because that is a prime spot from what is the top division in for the LEC, and both it's scripted. It looks scripted, doesn't it? That the two academy sides are facing each other at 4, but
One thing,
yeah,
one
go on.
thing I want to touch on as well that I just noticed when I was just like kind of doing my prep for this episode, just sort of looking back through things. Um, we've ended up throughout playoffs so far. There's only been one game where the higher seed team didn't win. So like the seeding has actually ended up like almost perfect.
That kind of correct.
The only team that beat a higher seed was Barrage beating Godsent. Every other match, the higher seed team won, and even that
Wow.
one, like, well, yeah, I don't know. That's the only one. So
Yeah.
maybe the format and the strength of the groups and everything was pretty spot on.
Even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
good
this is
good
what we'll
job.
find out though, because I oh no, but then again, I'm not gonna obviously say like predictions and stuff like that, but then I look at it and I kind of be like, actually, you might be right. We could end up potentially with an A versus B final.
Hmm.
I actually don't think we. I think we will end up with an A versus B final. I don't
Yeah,
think it will be an A versus A or a B versus B. So that would be quite interesting.
it would indeed.
Should we actually go into the games then?
Yeah, let's do it. So the first one is Riddle against Tricked. And we spoke about it briefly, I think, when Surza was on last week, and he kind of gave the impression that it was quite heavily favoured for Riddle. He didn't really give Tricked much of a chance. Um, I'm hoping it wouldn't be that one-sided. I don't know.
Mm.
I would probably give it to Riddle. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's like it's totally set. When I think I said when Tricked played against XL, they obviously got 2-0'd. I was kind of hoping that Pad had something up his sleeve that was going to come out in playoffs because obviously they've done their fair share of kind of odd picks and they've got their flexes and whatnot. So I'm going to go on the fact now that he's probably saved it against XL because he knew that if he lost, they still got a chance here anyway. So
Mhm.
because this is the final, the last
Because
chance.
Pad loves a miracle run.
He
Yeah,
does
we know
exactly.
this.
He's made for the lower bracket, isn't he?
He's looking at this thinking 8 games on a Sunday, perfect. This is
Sign me
us.
up. Yeah. Um, so so yeah, I don't think it's going to be totally one-sided. I think the tricks have well, I don't know they've definitely, but I'm fairly confident they'd have something that they've been saving just in case when things do get rocky, especially if they lose the first game. I could see something real wild coming out. So yeah, but I think if you look at it lane by lane, I think you probably would give it to Riddle. I think I'd say Doxy, Maxi, and Senkux you probably say are better than what Tricked have. I'd say the bot lane is probably slightly on in Tricked's favour. I think that's where you could see
Mhm.
things sort of swim back in there
Mhm.
to their side. What do you reckon? We could do some predictions while we're at it as well. I'm
Yeah.
I'm going for a 2-1 Riddle. Yeah, like I
Okay.
said, I think they're probably stronger, but I don't see it being like totally one-sided. I'm not expecting a stomp.
I disagree a little bit in sense of it being top, mid, and jungle, which being the issue, because I think that that's doing Soft a little bit of a disservice. Because I think that Soft has been, in my opinion, Trick's best player and definitely the most improved player from what we've seen from performances. And he actually looks like a player which I genuinely believe, with more development, could make it. Either to an NLC Academy side, or I mean, not an NLC Academy side, an LEC Academy side, or potentially an LEC if he continues to develop. I think he's really shown a lot this split. Um, I also think, like, I agree with you. PlayStation or Chew, I actually do favour over Reggie and Wendelbo. However, Reggie can have those games. Like we've seen it this split already. That Reggie, we know he's not the main focus of the team, and I don't think I think he knows that. But when he needs to step up, there are some games where he really, really does show up and he's got a good following as well. Like he seems like a very popular player, AJ, anyway. So you've got to appreciate that. But if I'm being honest, Riddle are the best side. I may even say that they're better than BTXL, if I'm being honest, because I really think the quality that Riddle have is brilliant. I think Doxy has been amazing. Maxi, I think, is brilliant. Like Maxi has come back from what was it, Fly Academy, I think it was, and basically has done amazing work and is kind of, I'm not gonna say it's kickstarted, because I think the quality of Maxi was there even when he left Fly Academy. People are like, well, we know what to do with him in EU. That was the genuinely the feeling that I thought coming out of it. And I know that we had the conversation with Surza about kind of the difference between like NA and EU and how it could favor, certain players, especially the culture shock between. And I think, and I put Surza above any other mid laner in the league. I think not Surza. I put Senkux above any other mid laner in the league because I think he's been absolutely outstanding. So for me, it's probably going to be a 2-0 Riddle. But I hate so when this is why I didn't like when we couldn't do predictions in the last one, because obviously we did it, but they hadn't announced who was playing and stuff like that, did they? So because when I put I think it was I think we all put, was it like 2-0 to Godsend when Barrage won and oh no it was 0-2 to Barrage, and then that's when they lost, I think, against Riddle. And I remember putting that and being like, yeah, but I didn't think it was going to be like a stomp. I put 2-0 because I do think Riddle are going to win 2-0, but I don't think it's going to be like they dominate it, And so at least now I could say 2-0 Riddle and be like, but I do genuinely think that Tricked are actually going to put up a fight. I agree with you. This isn't a side which can't do anything. And to be fair, if I'm BTXL, I'm probably looking at that game kind of hoping for Tricked, unfortunately, because well, Riddle's beat XL every single time, haven't they?
Yeah, they 2-0'd him, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, like you want to go on the unknown entity than the entity that has beat you twice, because we know that when Riddle actually do really step up and they look like they are trying in this game, and they took a game off Fnatic Rising. That says a lot. That I'm very excited to see how Riddle are going to go, and it's a shame that they have to play so many games, but I think they can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the mid will be quite interesting to see as well, because they're both players that we've seen are willing to play like out of meta picks, like even like obviously Eren even started with like the Pantheon mid, and with Senkux we saw Annie and stuff. So
I mean, yeah, like I think Eren, to go on your point, is super underrated in this league. You could say that with, I think, every other player apart from maybe a Chew and Soft. But I think Wiseau, we were guilty of it as well. We don't talk about Wiseau, and that's not because he's bad. Like trust me, when a player's bad in top lane, we talk about it. That's why we slated Pride for half a season. When Fnatic even won the split, when Fnatic won the split last week, we were still slating him about saying that he's not good enough. But I just think that Wiseau has been a very good, consistent player, and has been. He knows his role, he knows what to do, and that's a good thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't get all the plaudits. Eren's another person where I think he's been willing to sacrifice himself to facilitate a lot of other lanes. That Pantheon pick, which he does as well, was definitely one of them. I mean, Wiseau, I believe, didn't he play like a Zir top right at the beginning?
Yeah,
as well?
That was the match. Yeah, so they flexed a Zir top and then took Pantheon instead.
Mental. So I do think that those two players do not get the recognition they deserve, and they really do, deserve it. They're a top 4 side, and if I'm being completely honest, going off the performances of everybody else, a deserved top 4 side. I don't think in the end Nordvin clearly weren't good enough, because to be fair, the only other side I would have said that maybe deserved there were Nordvin at that point, and Tricked beat them. So that proved that Munster was nowhere near what the level we expected to be. As good as Barrage was, like they've come on and said it themselves. They were just happy to get into playoffs with the budget which they had. That was really, really good for them. They were very, very confident. They were confident about doing it, but for them that was an achievement. Tricked for me looks like the best well, the fourth best side, I would say, out of the lot, and that's a good achievement.
Hmm. Again, yeah, because you would think, you'd imagine probably Nordavind and definitely Monster probably had bigger budgets than Tricked as well.
Hmm.
You would think. So yeah, to be top four, no 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 disservice, I don't think. But they, could be higher. They're still in it, so we'll see.
Hmm.
Um, the next game then. So after that, then we've got the upper bracket game, which is XL against Fnatic. So the winner of this, like we said, goes straight to the final. The loser will have to play earlier on Sunday for a chance to get to the final still on Sunday, and
Hmm.
could, if things go south, could end up playing 8 games. Um, it's a bit of a weird one that we've waited this long to see the academy teams.
I
Like
know they've avoided each other.
we were spoilt with the tower, the academy, the tower format. We see them like every week, sometimes twice a week. So yeah, I think this one is for you'd usually think that if you hadn't seen them play each other for the whole split, there would probably be a bit more excitement around like seeing who is actually stronger. But I don't think there's
Mhm.
much of
I'm
an argument.
excited. I'm excited.
I'm excited to see it, obviously,
But
but I don't think we'll be that surprised if Fnatic do look quite a lot
right,
stronger.
this may get clipped, so hopefully it doesn't. BTXL cannot beat Fnatic when it counts. Like they never have. Since there was academies, the two academy sides have been there. BTXL have always been the side to choke against Fnatic. They didn't make it to EU Masters in the first split, because Demise and Fnatic made it, didn't they? I believe.
Diabolus.
Diablo, sorry, made it. They then got, Fnatic were then the most dominant side. Yeah, BT were there, but they lost in the finals to Fnatic. Then, we go to the beginning of the NLC, and then what happens? Well, the UKLC, sorry, the beginning of the UKLC. What happens? BT go undefeated and then get reverse swept by Fnatic. So when it counts, Fnatic just seem to have their number. And that makes me think, though, is that because obviously now Fnatic have had this massively dominant split, is it just going to be the other way? I don't think so. I'm genuine. I'm going 2-0 Fnatic, because I think Fnatic, despite taking a game off Riddle, no, despite losing to Riddle, looked incredibly good against what I would say Riddle is the second best side in terms of performances from what I've seen. And they really, really did perform well against them. And I don't see a way in which BTXL win.
Hmm.
But perhaps if BTXL play the way that they used to, and that was a little bit for me playing through Deadly, I could see that helping. But I I just think that Pride and Bravado have improved so much that and it is this case because we haven't seen them face. So I am looking at, oh well, what happened last week, and it could be completely different with Styles, and that's so interesting because we haven't seen them. But I look at kind of, I didn't think Fnatic were great, and they reverse swept them last split.
Hmm.
For me, I think Fnatic look a lot better, and I do think that they're just going to dominate BT.
Yeah.
Um, I hope I'm wrong. I hope after some time there's been a lot of changes, and for me, when you've got players like Hatrix, Kasing, even Deadly, and Taxa, and not really Sendo because that's not the role he does. But when you've kind of got those players, especially like I said, the mid and the bot duo, I think you've always got a chance of winning because they are top quality players. But I do look at Fnatic Rising, and I think of they can't just win in one way. They can win in like 2, 3 different ways, and they've proven that the entire time. When they beat Riddle, they won it in different ways. They did a different style. Even in the loss, they tried something a little bit, and it didn't work out for them.
Hmm.
But they adapted that, and they've done really well against every single opponent. It seems that they're willing to kind of counter their opponents a little bit, which is a sign of how good that squad is together.
Yeah. The one the one thing maybe Excel could have going from I think they've tried to like play off some of the defeats as saying like they're just trying stuff out this time, and they're not just, yeah, and that's why they're not going for for like just a full sweep in regular season. They want to expand their play styles and whatnot. So you never know. Maybe that could help. Maybe in a best of series, there may be they may have more options now. But then also in saying that, like a lot of stuff they might be trying in scrims and different styles. I, I'm I get the feeling that like when you're playing against Fnatic, even just from pick ban, it's just got to be totally different because of like even just almost purely because of bravado. Like you just cannot you can't
Cannot give him
practice.
Tarek. You can't give him
Yeah, so
Tarek.
you can't take like basically any other champ select and use that as kind of practice or use it as this is the comp we want to play and we can get it by banning this and taking this first. Because against Fnatic, you have to go from scratch because you either ban the Tarek or you give it and Fnatic basically always win the game. So I don't know. You'd hope that XL have kind of done their homework on that and have some sort of plan around it. I was going to go for 2-1 just because of that. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see him to have something to pull out. But it was funny though when you were saying about like the thing that they can't beat Fnatic when it counts. It made me wonder like what if they win this series and then just lose to them in the final like later on.
This is not actually when it
Or
counts.
they they 2-0 this one and then they go 2-0 up in the final and they get reverse swept again. But yeah, I don't know.
No.
Doesn't seem so
I
likely this time.
also, I also think, and while it's not a massive priority pick, uh, I I would be very shocked. And I don't know how the meta is and stuff like that, so I'm not like massively up to the meta about it. So I don't know how much a priority Twisted Fate is anymore. But I think that Magifilix has looked very good on that champion. I don't know how much of a priority that champion is now anyway, so I could be completely wrong. But if it is dangerous, I would also try and stop him having that because I think that that's worked well for him.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter what, the problem, no matter what the matter is, you just can't get bravado that Tarek at all. I do think I do have an issue with the fact that there is part of me which just thinks we're going to see BT Fnatic in the final. But I think that Riddle are actually going to make it. Because if I'm being honest, I think I'd prefer Riddle. I really like BT, and I do think Fnatic are probably going to win the split, if I'm being honest. Obviously, I might change my mind once these games have been played, and then we get to predict otherwise. So, if there is some hypocrisy, then that's probably why. But I think that kind of Riddle, for me, look the more exciting team. And I wonder if it's just because, like, a lot of these players, like, we haven't seen together. Where with BT, well, 4 of them we have, and then Hatrix is there. And as much as kind of people have been saying that Hatrix kind of adapted his own style, I feel like he's just kind of fitted into the mold a little bit. And that's not a problem. I think that obviously Special was brilliant. He was some people's MVPs and stuff like that last split. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But that's why I don't think I'm like excited about that roster because it feels like it's the same roster, kind of doing similar things. And at points, I do think kind of relying a little bit on Kasing and in kind of his experience. And again, that's not a negative because if they win the split, that's probably why. But where you've got Riddle, kind of this exciting team, which is a mixture, I think, of kind of known quantities in what I would say in like Doxy and Senkux especially, to unknown quantities really with Maxi and I would say like Rege and PlayStation, not PlayStation, Rege and Wendelbo. Yeah, sorry. So there's that kind of mix and that new kind of vibe. It reminds me a little bit of when of Diablos, of when you kind of had these players like come out of nowhere and kind of prove something wrong. And I think everybody loves an underdog. And if in my opinion, I would have loved a Tricked Riddle final, but I don't think that would have been good for one our EU Masters placings, and two for probably viewership as well, because I think you do need an academy side in there.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going off viewership, you want BTXL. Like let's be honest, you want a BTXL final, but it would be nice to see Riddle.
Mm-hmm. Just going back to the XL Fnatic matchup for a second as well. I could see especially Pride and Dan just taking that over. Like we talked about where Pride has obviously improved this split, and Dan we've spoken in recent episodes about him being a top jungler, one that probably does belong in NEC, if it, not being funny. And Sendo and Taxa have been the ones that have kind of underperformed really for XL this year, and we've seen Dan when he plays against junglers that that haven't sort of, yeah, I don't know, like when they give him a bit of a lead at the start, he's just so aggressive. He'll just dominate them, and
Mhm.
especially if he's on like, yeah, it's like a Graves or something like that, he'll just literally take their whole jungle and not let them back into the game. And Taxa is one where he's usually kind of more the opposite. You know, he likes his Sejuanis and stuff. He plays the Lee Sin as well. But yeah, he does quite like, you know, the more sort of utility junglers, and you could see that kind of getting overrun by Dan depending on
Mm.
what how the picks go as well. So I think that's one to watch out for, and a way that we could definitely see Fnatic taking it over. On Excel side, it's probably the opposite. Like you could maybe say their bot lane is where they'd more likely win, and probably where they'd be more
Mhm.
comfortable trying to win. Like you said, like the whole success that they had in spring was almost completely just playing through Deadly, um, or if not playing through him directly, was just group up everybody mid
Well,
and let
it was
Deadly
it
farm
was
up.
Deadly and Sencux, wasn't it? They were the two
Special
you
Deadly,
kind of
yeah,
said Deadly and Special. Sorry, yeah.
yeah,
And I think that kind of that's what it's going to have to be. I think this time. I think it's a little bit harder when Felix when you're against Felix, but
mhm,
I do think that hat-tricks, especially in the right match, but definitely can compete against Felix. That like I don't think that they're like massive poles apart in terms of quality players. In fact, I probably put like Sencux, Felix, and hat-tricks in a very similar level, where at any time I think either one of them can beat each other.
mhm,
I do think it is. Yeah, it's for me though. It has to be through the bot lane with BT because I feel like as much and I think Bravado and Xmati are brilliant players as well. I just feel like you've got a better chance of winning the bot lane than what you do kind of risking it in the mid lane.
mhm,
And for me, you kind of play tank top, tank jungle, and then potential carries in mid lane and bot lane, and then maybe a tank support or stuff like that. Or maybe no, I wouldn't say tank support. Put Kessing on like a Thresh or a person where you can actually really like kind of control the game a little bit more. I
mhm.
don't like seeing Kissing on Tom Kench or kind of place. I
Lulu.
would not like to see Kissing on Tarek as well. Like because I do think that he's got a different style, and I think he can kind of when he's got a little bit more agency in the
Mhm.
game, I think he can do much. Like I would like to see him on Bard, if I'm being honest as well, because again, that's another champion who can have a little bit more agency and set things up a little bit more. So
Yeah.
um, interesting that you kind of got two bot lanes though, and I do think they do have different roles. And I think it will be a really really good matchup. Who
Mhm.
do you think is going to be if you had to predict? Because obviously we're not going to have a podcast before then. What do you think the final's going to be? I'm not going to say like predict a score, but
Um. So Fnatic going through and then XL against Riddle. I don't really know. I think it's really
difficult.
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably give it to XL. I think they should have more of the mental edge on it. Like they've been there. They've been there before. The whole team is almost. Apart from hat tricks, the whole team have been together there before as well. So I would imagine them. But at the same time, like yeah, like Riddle one where the mental kind of was in question a bit earlier on in the split, and then they've kind of solidified. They've got more
Mhm.
consistency, and they probably, you'd argue, probably got more momentum as well at the moment. So I don't know. Like Riddle will
It's
be
difficult.
having beaten or having taken a game off Fnatic, they'll be, I'm sure, more than up for it against XL. So I don't know. I think it'd be very close. I'd just probably edge towards XL though. What about you?
I would. Yeah, I do think, I know it sounds a little bit like a cop out. I think it depends on how both these sides compete together. If BT, despite losing, are very close with Fnatic, because again, we have not seen these sides actually face each other.
Mhm.
This could, if you have any excuse to say anything, this is where you would expect both these sides to be playing at their best. And you would hope that they would do, because as
Yeah.
much as I think BT kind of did actually treat some of their competition, like fairly, and same with Fnatic. Like this is the game which they will want to prove how good each team is. And so if we do see like a really good BT coming out of this, I could easily see them beating Riddle. And then vice versa, if Tricked give them Riddle a difficult game, or Tricked win, or vice versa, then I think it does kind of spell a little bit more of type one way of what it could be. I would like to say Riddle, The issue is, though, which I'm kind of realizing, is that while it's important to win the NLC, I wonder if, because of the way that the format works, our example anyway in Riddle and BT, are they just going to focus on that best of three? Because at the end of the day, once you're in the finals, you're in EU Masters.
True.
I know
Yeah.
there's a difference between play-ins, and I've looked at our play-ins and where we would place, and I think it's horrible.
Hard. Yeah.
I think we got a German side in there, haven't we? Yeah, just have a little look up. But like I know that it's a very, very difficult run for us, but so I know that there's obviously that, and you will want to take into attention. But I would like to think that there might be a lot of priorities in going into just that finals game and just trying to win that, because once you're in EU Masters, at least then you can compete for it, and then go through that.
Yeah.
It would be very interesting if it was just two group spots, because like I genuinely just didn't think that there would be a competitive final at that point, because like, let's be honest, if there was two group stage spots, yeah, B2 have just beat Riddle in 3 games. Do you think that, I mean, obviously there's a little bit more money into it, but they're academy
Yeah.
sides anyway at that point. Are they really going to care? It's two group stage spots,
Yeah, especially if you're an
But
academy team, like your aim is to do well in EU Masters, isn't it? Like, I'm sure you're
Mhm.
not as bothered really about the NLC. I don't think they would be.
I guess XL, the XL might be a little bit more, because they've always been beat by Fnatic, but
Yeah,
that's just
true.
one of those.
But yeah, I just looked up. So whichever team loses the final, they go into a group with Gamer Legion um,
Just
from the
huge.
German
That's
league, and
such.
then eSuba and EGN Esports, which I
Mhm.
don't really know too much about those other two,
I
but
know
then
Isuba are really good.
yeah,
Isuba and
didn't they
Isuba
do
are
pretty
really good.
well in the last E Masters? Or,
I think they did.
I don't-
I think they did well in play-ins. I think.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
to
they
be
did.
paired up against Gamer Legion is, I think, hard. Really,
Hmm.
really hard. For me, it feels a little bit unfair that you kind of, because the DAC league, the German league, is considered one of the strongest divisions. Obviously, it's got three seeds.
Yeah,
So it feels a little bit bad that the third German seed, which is considered like the major division, has gone into the NLC. I would have expected NLC, given kind of where you would expect them to be in the standings, to have been one of the seeds to have not been put up against the third playing side,
yeah.
because I know that there was one group which hasn't got that, with the 3 teams with 3
Hmm.
spots. So it does feel a little bit unfair from that, because is it the top two, mate? Or I think it's only the top who makes it
I
into.
think it's top two, but then you go into like a qualifier after that. So you go top two moves on,
Oh,
and
and
then
it yeah, and
so
it
if they
really
finish second, then they'll play against the first place team from a different group to get through.
which
Um,
is not nice, is it?
no, not very nice. But yeah, I see what you mean though. It's like we considering we've come from having two group spots, obviously last split, to then go and not only have to go in play-ins, but then clearly not be one of the top playing seeds. You're
Oh no, I am wrong though, because the LFL does have 3 seeds as well. So there is a seed in everyone, but for me it does feel a little bit like, I guess it might have been random, but the German team feels like it's the strongest of the lot.
yeah,
So to get a third seed in the German league is a little bit like,
yeah.
I
So
would have
like
been okay with a third Ultra League side, for
yeah,
example.
because
Yeah.
the way they've done it, I think, is that oh well, how I'm kind of guessing then is that that third Ultra League seed is ranked more highly than the NLC second seed.
Do you want me to be honest? I think they just drew the third seeds into a group, drew the second
Yeah,
seeds into a
yeah,
group.
yeah.
I don't think there was much thought put into it, if I'm being honest.
Hmm.
Um, I'm like I said, I think Asuba we could do okay with as well.
Yeah,
And I do think we'll get out. I just would have liked to have not faced the German side that early, especially one which is Gamer Legion, which I really do not like at
hmm,
all right now, because they look pretty scary from what I've seen. So,
hmm,
but we get to see Hjarnan and Wisdom, so that's nice. You get to see Wisdom back,
yeah,
and that means this could mean that we get to see Hjarnan versus XL, which is always a nice little
yeah.
thing if
That
that does
storyline.
happen.
him against his buddy Kasing. Um, so that's it on the playoffs. Then was there any more topics we could say about the maybe about the fact that we didn't get an official team of the split, which was a bit disappointing. Obviously, something that LVP did with the UKLC, and when DreamHack took over, they didn't do it for spring, but you could give them the benefit of the doubt, the fact that they obviously that everything happened so late. Would have been nice to see them sort it out then for this split, but yeah, unfortunately
I would
not.
have liked it, and you never know. Maybe
Maybe
tomorrow.
after playoffs as well.
or maybe in the finals they announce the team of the split. Because I know that they could do that, and so this could sour. They could have done it while we were speaking now. You never know, but I think that it would have been nice considering it's not that hard to probably ask like a couple players or a couple owners saying, "Hey, who do you think's the team of the split?" Just calculate them all and go out. Obviously, I'm speaking from a bias point. Obviously, we're speaking from a point where we're someone who's doing media around it and stuff, or a bit of content around the UK scene. I have to say that LVP they were very communicative, I think, especially with the media around them. And I do think it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more professional, I think, with the NLC, which every style is fine. And I'm not complaining and stuff like that. It's not like I would be complaining if we wanted to interview someone and then NLC basically messaged us saying, no, you can't, because I'm like, oh, well, but they're not, they're kind of just letting us do our thing, which is nice. Yeah. And to be fair, we haven't been the nicest of them, I think, at points, especially with last split, but that was what happened, but then again, we slated the MVP with the tower format, so, and they allowed us. They said, "Hey, here's a team of the split. What do you think?" But you never know. It might happen. I just wish that as coronavirus kind of ends, there's a lot more things on DreamHack's case than to get a team of the split. As kind of things go next split, I would hope there's a little bit more engagement, and I genuinely believe that DreamHack would have had a lot more content because they did it right at the beginning of the NLC with like Taiki and a few other players. I know they did one with Trouble Inc. as well, kind of like a highlight video before like the streams, which they were really, really good kind of interview style videos, and I really, really enjoyed them. I think we're going to see more of that next split. So I do think that with a lot of leagues, it's kind of just been, let's get through this, restart next year, and we'll see what happens. So I am really looking forward to next split. I've already said this, but I think it's going to be brilliant. I really do. Yeah. Especially when we get 3 seeds at EU Masters as well. It's gonna be perfect.
That's quite a lot of confidence there, Tom. Anyway,
hey, no, let's be honest. Fnatic are because I'm gonna. If they do qualify, whether it be play-ins or an event, I think they're a top 4 side. In my opinion, I think Fnatic though have always been a top 4 side, and to be fair, most of the times that they've done it. Yeah. I worry a bit like I've done with every other split since. I worry about our second team. I think a little bit because I feel like there's always been. Funny, I think last split, I'm wrong actually. Last split, I thought that BT were going to be the top 4 side, despite them losing. I remember us coming on and saying like, yeah, but look how good they were, and then they kind of had.
And then they lost the opening 3 games. And...
Yes, but they did then climb back up off that. But I think that we're looking strong this split as well. No matter if it's genuinely if it's Tricked, Riddle, BT, or Fnatic, I think we're looking like a strong enough region to hopefully be like, yeah, we can take a 3rd spot off.
And to be fair to Excel last year, they lost to LDLC, who won it in the end. So. They let them off the hook for that. And yeah, just again on the team of the split, maybe we're just maybe grumpy as well because if they have done it, it means we haven't been invited like we were before.
Yeah, this is where we're gonna get a message saying, "Oh yeah, do you want to do the team of the split?" They've already got the graphics done, and they're just hoping that we don't outbalance it. In fact, you know what? It doesn't even matter. They've already made the graphics. They're just gonna say that they've counted our vote, and then like an hour later, it's gonna announce it, and we're gonna feel like, yes, we were a part.
Exactly, yeah.
This is where Megalodonus is going to message us saying, "Oh, you guys weren't invited."
It's only...
We had a Discord party and everything. I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's fine."
then we'll cancel the show.
This is
I'm not
this is
watching
why there's
NLC
been
ever
nobody
again.
here. This is why there's been they're all this Discord party for the team of the split with the hype party. That's it.
Yeah, they've all been shipped out to Stockholm and they didn't tell us. God's sake. With that,
This
then.
is what happens when we don't have a guest. Like,
um, is there anything else you wanted to cover then? I think we're yeah, we can probably wrap up for this one.
I don't think there's anything else really. I mean, obviously, I think we're gonna have a. Oh, we should say that we are going to be covering EU Masters this time.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do it that off. I think we did like
one or two
one?
episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to actually do a little bit of research about EU Masters teams and stuff like that. So
yeah, we have to because we. Yeah, I won't jinx it just in case it doesn't pull off. We've got a pretty high profile guest maybe coming on to do a bit of a preview on EU Masters as well. So yeah, we'll have to do our homework so we don't look stupid.
I think, and when we get any Fnatic player on, that'll be good. Yeah, Magi Felix is coming on for the EU Masters final, the hour before the EU Masters final as well, because it will literally be discording us then playing it, because clearly Fnatic are going to be in the EU Masters final. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll be there talking. It'll be like, guys, you need to hurry up. You need to hurry up.
We'll just jump in the scrims channel or the comms channel. Matty, shut up. We're interviewing Magi Felix here. Do you mind? Well, he must have like 5 sets of hands. Has he play on 5 accounts at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. I think he can easily do it. Yeah, easily.
Well, we'll look forward to that one then. All right, let's wrap this one up before it just degenerates even more. So yeah, thanks for watching then, everyone that has been. Yeah, we'll be back next week, I think. So we'll do one before EU Masters. Will probably be like next weekend, and maybe an episode before that to kind of talk through the playoffs once the finals happen. See if we can get anyone on that was in the final, hopefully as well. So yeah, look out for that. And anyone that's watching, if anyone's still knocking about on Twitch, then please do drop a follow on there to see the next episodes once they're live. And if you're listening later on Spotify or YouTube, of course you can follow on those platforms too. And anyone that's watching either on Twitch or YouTube, you'll be able to see our Twitters on the screen. So feel free to follow us directly too. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening.